guys, this is me, Malorian, and over here we have
Shira,
and this will be a Warmachine 101. This is where you give your questions up on my Mr. Malorian Facebook page, and then I answer them. And because it's Father's Day, I'm having Shira join me because I'm going to answer one of your questions, and then she's going to ask me a question. So we'll see how that goes, what questions she has for me. So maybe think of some of those now while I hit this first one. And this first one here is going to come from Tyler Calderwood, and he says, why can't Kador use the Hordenhold Forge Guard still? And to be honest, I don't know if it's a fluff thing or what, if that's the reason why they can't take them. I don't know if it's a balance issue or because it seems like Kador already hits hard, so adding in Forge Guard doesn't really change that very much. Yeah, I mean, my mercs can take your Kayazi, so this is just the way it is. So I wish I could give you a more tactical reason. Maybe it's fluff. Maybe it is part of a balancing thing, but to me, I don't see why. It's just one of those things. So now back to you, Shira. What's a Father's Day question you have for me to answer? And it can be about anything you want. Don't fall back. Remember, you're balancing up on like this cushion contraption we made for you here. Do you have a question, or should I read one more? What do you think?
Read another one.
All right. So this next one here comes from Stephen Hetson, and he says, is it worth using Overlords and Agitators in Cephalyx as ways of getting focus on monstrosities through anatomical precision? Or is the P+S 11 too risky on the Armor 17 monstrosities, as it appears that the monstrosity rules don't specify that the damage has to be from enemy? Yeah, so what is it really talking about here? You'll more kind of talk about where it could come from, but the main thing is in Mark III with monstrosities, if they get hurt by friendly or by foe, then you can add on one fury or focus basically onto it. And so it's a really easy way where you don't need to add focus to it. You just make attacks on it. And these guys do 1 point of damage are fantastic. And so the real first part of the question there, is it worth taking the what do they call? What I said them? Either the Overlords or the Agitators to just plink 1 damage and add 1. That's an amazing thing to do. I think it's well worth it. Them having an inch of reach now makes it a lot easier. And if you're a Thexus, you can plink with these guys, do 3 damage, and then do Psychosurgery and heal them all up. And it's a fantastic, very powerful thing to do. Now he had a part 2 part of the question, saying, if the above is not a viable option, which it is, can you think of any viable ways to load up focus on the monstrosities? That really is it. Do keep in mind, though, that when you go in there and attack, you're going to get as well. So on your turn, you attack them with these guys, plink on those damage, charge in, destroy heavy or whatever, and when they counterattack, if they don't kill your Wrecker, keep in mind that each time they attack you and do damage, add on one of those tokens, up to 3, and then next turn, they're fully loaded, ready to go, and you've done nothing. All right, Shira, back to you. Have you thought of a question? What's the question?
How was your Father's Day?
My Father's Day is going great. They let me sleep in. They made me pancakes. I got cards. You made me a little Superman thing about why I'm a super daddy, that because my superpower is snuggling. But yeah, I'm having a great Father's Day. We're about to go for a brunch, and then we're about to, after that, go to a dinner theater, which mother-in-law is watching the kids, so you guys will have fun, and we'll have fun too. All right, so think of your next question after I'm done this one. Next one here comes from Mark Howard, and says, you should just do a 2-hour-long video about the new Cephalyx changes and your plans for them, and then strike up some ideas for dominated units. Now, I love the Cephalyx. 2 hours would be a little bit much. I'll talk about here, but Cephalyx are very powerful. Definitely planning to run them. Any mercenary player should really heavily be looking at Cephalyx because the way that you can power them up now is just so good with Thexus and his ability to do domination. You can do characters now, so that's great. If you ever want to be punching some strong armor, Siphon's Feet is great for that too. The only bad thing we have is that now the Agitators don't work for the Drudges. It's only the monstrosities, but still really good. And as far as some things that you can do for dominating units, Alexia is still a great choice. I would be looking at also maybe dominating. I mean, the whole idea before of dominating the Crow's Cutthroats, I mean, you can still TK guys around and get the 4 dice damage, but you actually can't because now you don't lost poison. So now you TK them around to get backstrike, and it's not like what it used to be. I could see the Selena and the Nis Hunters being a great choice. I wouldn't really bother with Blith and Bull. Wouldn't bother with the Shadow Mutineers. Maybe the Boom Howlers, but then again, you already have Tough that works out well enough, so I wouldn't look there. The High Shields, maybe doing that for a little bit of high armor shooting. Hernan Jorn, maybe, but I mean, again, you already have some good anti-infantry that you really need that. Forge Guard, they could be an interesting option for getting some huge hitting power. I'm trying to go down in this thing, it's not letting me do that. Come on, why aren't you letting me go down? See, here's a rule. Here it's finally working. Some other interesting things you can do. Idrian Skirmishers, I could see dominating them to have the shooting power and, you know, the going in, charging in melee. They can do great. Kayazi Assassins are an interesting thing you can do. Eliminators. Eliminators are actually a very good way. So we talked about before about how you attack your own guys and add the focus points onto them. Well, Eliminators for only 5 points each and 2 attacks each that also have that 1 point of damage. You can very, very quickly fill up 2 guys like that. And remember, the Dominator also has that 1 attack as well. So for 6 points for the 2 Eliminators and the Dominator, that's 5 attacks. Plink, 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 plink. 5 focus on there. Very cheap way of doing this. Ian and Holt, maybe. We'll have to kind of see. Precursor Knights, possible. Press Gangers, I really like. I wouldn't get into the Sea Dog deck gun or the regular pirates. The Halberdiers would be another cheap one you can throw in there. Also, because if you want to get some reach and charging and all that great stuff, you can't do the Cav. Riflemen with their changes, they're cheaper. Again, I'd probably be looking to either the Idrians or the Nis Hunters first, but you know, the Riflemen maybe if you just don't really like those, or if you already have the Nis Hunters. The Tactical Arcanist Corps, if you want to get those clouds in, they're great. Now here's another great one, the Thorn Gun Mages. Now, Thorn Gun Mages have the ability to push things like regular Gun Mages, and so getting these guys in gives your Thexus list or Siphon, if you want to go to there, just a lot more board control and more ranged options. So I can definitely be seeing them. They're a little bit more pricey, but can do a lot of damage and do a lot of board control. So yeah, a lot of good options there. Alright, so She-Ra or Owl, do you got a question for me? For Father's Day questions? Oh no, you're dropping the ball here. You got to come up with some questions for Father's Day. Alright, Nick West asks, is there a hard 3 focus limit to Warjacks now? Of course, we can't allocate them more than 3, but there are ways to get more than 3 on 1. It sounds like the rule has changed to limit 3 at all times. Alright, it's just like Mark II. You have a limit of 3 unless you have ways to get more. So guys like Nemo that can now allocate 4 and stuff like that, right? So it's a hard set 3 unless you have a rule that goes past it. So yeah, if you have a rule that goes past it, it goes past it. But if you don't have that, you're copying my hand movements, then it stops there at 3. So it's one of those weird things. It's a rule until it's not, until you can bypass it. The next one here, oh, She-Ra, do you have a Father's Day one? And give me a question about anything. Doesn't be about Father's Day, just whatever question you have for your dad. What's your question? That's your question? You got a real question?
Why is there a little box around your head?
Oh, that's a fun thing. See, this thing finds your face. You can actually change the setting on the camera so that it would always be like following your face around. Yeah, so I got a box in your face, and I think I could click on here and make it so it focuses more in there. I don't want to do that, but yeah, if you ever get bored, you'd be like playing tag with the box in the camera. Next one here comes from Danny Daigle, and it says, can you talk about what you anticipate for our upcoming meta? So first of all, you're going to see people taking a lot of jacks, and there's a lot of shooty stuff out there. So you'll see a lot of shooty lists, a lot of jacks, and so when you're building something to counter it, make sure you have a list that counters shooting, and make sure you have a list that is going to counter the jacks. Eventually, the way to counter these jacks, where it's going to be a race to seeing who can have the most powerful ones. So ones like Abitu will be really in there where she has a super long threat. I mean, Abby 2 just beats Cephalyx in terms of the Siphon, because her threat's just farther and she just hits harder. So you're going to see this weapons race to be hitting the hardest and having the longest alpha strike, and then clearly it comes up to the way that you counter this is having cheap infantry. So you're going to see some cheap infantry coming back into this to counter that. With all the counters to shooting, the shooting people are going to have to try and, like, okay, a list like Sloan or Lilith 2 will always be very powerful, but you're going to start seeing a rebalancing where, okay, I'm going to need to find a better way to try and deal with more of this infantry to be, if they shut down my shooting, what's my second go-to option, right? So I think there'll be a little bit of a balancing, more going to the weapon masters. You'll be seeing more cricks, seeing more forge guard, stuff like that, so that, okay, come on, heavies, you might out-threat me by a bunch and hit really hard, but you're just going to run to press gangers, and they're going to smash you with my weapon masters coming from behind. So that's what I think. And then past that is just going to be that waves, where depending on what people take in that meta, what new things come out, it'll be a lot more balanced. So in the beginning, really high jacks, really high beasts, a really huge rush to go for the biggest hit at the farthest threat, shooting really big into the shooting assassination, and then as people build to counter those, things are going to calm down. All right, back to She-Ra. You got a question for me?
Owl does.
Okay, Owl, what's the question? That's a good question. And what the question is, are owls fun? Is that what he asked? Owls are a lot of fun. Burrowing owls are really cute. It's actually an owl that decides, you know what, I'm not going to fly around. I'm just going to go and dig a hole like a hamster or a rabbit, and I'm going to live in a hole, and I think those are adorable. If I could have a one of those owls as a pet, I would go for it absolutely. But we have too many pets, so we're not going to do that. Next question here is from Mark Swaby, which says, is the Buccaneer spam dead due to the wreck markers being removed? Absolutely not. I actually think that this Buccaneer spam got better because of all the free focus. That's a huge thing. Getting like a free 16 focus or whatever is massive. Actually, the biggest hurt to the Buccaneer spam is the ability to not push. I did a lot of those push attacks with the Buccaneers. Those owls throw me off. But the no wreck markers is actually not a bad thing at all. It means you don't need to bring with you a bucket full of wreck markers. And two, I found that people were using it against me. Sure, having some wreck markers so that either Magnus could go into one, but why even bother do that? Just knock down Magnus. I found that people were using it against me. So if I ever had like the Galleon, they'd throw their guys into a wreck marker from a Buccaneer, and now I can't really shoot it and pull it in. So I actually don't see that as hurting it at all. I think Mark III really makes the Buccaneer Brigade much better, and I'm going to be playing a lot of it. Alright, She-Ra or Owl, do you have another question? Okay, Owl. Can you tell me what the owl said?
The owl said,
Yeah.
do you like her present?
The present? Absolutely. Are you talking about the present? Did you two give it to me together?
Yeah.
With like the Superman gift and the card and all that? Yes, that was great. A whole big long story of why you think I'm a superhero. That was a perfect Father's Day gift. Last one here from the forum, and again, I'll be putting this up every Friday on the Mr. Maloran Facebook page, so if you want to ask me questions, put them here. The question here comes from Adam Tremblay, which says, do you think power attacks will be more common in the new edition? Now, this is kind of a mixed bag, because they actually got rid of some push attacks. Push attacks are gone, weapon locks are gone, but then again, you didn't really see a lot of those anyway. However, some of these power attacks are getting a lot more powerful. So things like trampling, now they get a free focus, these things are a lot easier to pull off, and you can just go over all these guys. It'll be great. Then again, in the beginning, you won't see much infantry, but again, when we see this change later on, where we'll see more infantry, tramples are going to be amazing. Another thing that's getting amazing is throws. Throws got a lot easier. They're not one-handed and two-handed. It's the same. Now, the biggest thing with throws is there's no scatter. The only time there's a scatter is that if you target a model and it's in range and you miss, okay, then it's going to actually scatter. Otherwise, you can just say, I'm throwing you there this distance, and you just land. And that is hugely powerful. Sometimes before you try and throw things out of zones, they'd scatter back in, or you try and throw something at a guy and it'd scatter off. Well, now you can say, like, I'm going to throw you out of the zone, boom, you're out. I'm going to throw you at this guy here, but I'm not going to target him. I'm just going to throw you that direction. Boom! I throw a guy onto the caster and he's knocked down. So throws are way more powerful. Sweeps from the Colossals, now that they're going to get all their full rules and things for a sweep, those will be a lot more interesting. I think like the throwing from a Colossal will be very, very scary. So with all the jacks being there, and there's more jacks and they have more free focus, I bet you that when people start figuring out what they can do with these power attacks, it's going to be very scary. Alright, so She-Ra and Owl, who I just had to save from falling down, you get one last question to close up this Warmachine 101. And what is it? What is it, Owl? And what does the owl say?
She likes the poster.
The poster? Well, of course. Yeah, the poster over here. I got this X-Men one over here. I love comics. I love X-Men just like I like Warmachine. I've thought of putting up more posters, but I don't know, I could do that.
Yeah.
You know. So there you go. There's another Warmachine 101 with myself, Malorian, and She-Ra. And does the owl have a name? Hoots Magoot? Oh, Oscar. And from Oscar the Owl. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you later. Bye. Hey there, if you liked watching this video, please go down and give it a like down below you here. And if you have any concerns or questions or comments, please put those in the comment section as well. You know, the best way for me to give you what you want to see is if you tell me what you like seeing and what you don't like seeing. So otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later. Owl, where's the button?